Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Driftin and Driftin. I'm Reverend Billy C. Wirtz, your host. And man, oh man, I have got an absolutely wonderful guest this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the true superstars of the blues, a great guitarist, writer, and one of the more distinctive voices on the scene today, my good friend, Mr. Neal. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Billy. How you been, man?
All things considered, it's been an interesting year, but I'm doing pretty okay.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We have some real history that we'll talk about here in a few, but you know, I reading on your background and whatnot. Let's roll it back. Tell me a little bit about your background and where you come from. A rather large family.
Oh yeah, man. You know, I was born in the city of New Orleans. Back in 1957.
Right.
And I was raised up here in Baton Rouge. I've been many places to live throughout my life. I was in Toronto, Canada, Chicago, but I found my way. You know, I have a plaque on the wall say, "For one goes around the world looking for something and come back home to find it."
Sure.
So I'm back in Louisiana now. But my dad, he started a band back in 1956. And he put Mr. Buddy Guy was his guitar player in his band in 56.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a gig one night and they left. My dad had just started a family. He was offered to go to Chicago. Buddy Waters invited them up because they opened up for Waters here in Baton Rouge in 56. Muddy Waters and Lil Walter.
Right.
So they invited Buddy and my dad to come up to Chicago, but my dad had just started a family. I was the eldest, and he really started a family because it ended up being 10 of us. I'm the eldest of 10. And so when Buddy Guy left my dad's band and moved to Chicago and John Muddy Waters, my dad went and got Buddy Guy's younger brother, which is Phil Guy. He's passed away now. And Phil stayed in the band for many years. And my dad just played throughout the South. And when I was 6, 7 years old, he would take me out to these little juke joints and put me on the bar. And man, I would do my little thing and pick up more money than the band made because they didn't make much money then.
Well, back up. What was your little thing that you did when you were 6 years old? Tell us about that.
I was doing Otis Redding, James Brown. You know, I had the James Brown boots and the what you call that? The little
the cape?
Tuxedo, you know, the tuxedo.
Oh, yeah.
Stripe up the side of the legs, you know, man, I had it going on. And so I would play on matinees. He would set me out in the car and I would usually have a babysitter watch me until it was my turn to go in the juke joint. And I'll play for about 15, 20 minutes and go around to the tables and collect my money. And that's when I knew I wanted to play music for the rest of my life.
Well, you just answered about 3 questions in a row there. So great. So were you playing the guitar or were you just singing at that point?
Oh man, I was singing and dancing. I was singing and dancing. I hadn't got to the guitar yet.
Right. And the band would play behind you? Yeah,
my dad's band would all back me up. And that was it, man. That was the beginning of it.
Okay, tell me about
go ahead.
I was going to say, tell me when the guitar came. So when does the guitar come into the picture?
Well, the guitar didn't come till later. The guitar, you know, we played it around the house because we had all the instruments around the house. And my dad would rehearse here at home. So we got a free concert, man. We used to look so forward to rehearsal time for my dad because all of the cats come over with their guitars, drums, and man, that was like a concert for us as kids. And but I started playing the piano. And then I discovered I couldn't take the piano to the clubs because it was too big. They didn't have the little small ones like they have now today. So I continued to play in my dad's band and sing and played the trumpet. That's the only thing I learned how to read music in was the trumpet, treble clef. And played that for a while. But my dad had this bass player. He would always be late. And my dad would complain and I would hear him. And so I started picking up the bass. And one Friday night, this guy was late. And I told my dad, I said, man, I could play your songs. I could play the bass. And he said, really? I said, yep. I said, I even brought my bass tonight. And so I got on the bass guitar and that was it for that guy. He was started playing bass with my dad because he needed a bass player.
You know, I Go ahead. So how old were you how old were you?
Well, I played, 15, 16, on up to when I joined Buddy Guy. I joined Buddy Guy when I was just about to turn 20 years old, when I moved to Chicago. So I was playing bass, and one night in the club, and Buddy Guy brother, who still lived here in Baton Rouge, his name is Sam Guy. There's
right.
3 of them. And Sam walked in the club and put me a little note in my top pocket, and during the break, it said, "Call Buddy Guy." I'm going, man. So I gave Buddy a call, collect, and he wanted me to meet him in Austin, Texas on that Monday night, on Tuesday night. And this was like a Friday, man. I had never really went nowhere. And this was like a Friday night. And so I had to break the news to my mom then on the next day and tell him that Buddy had invited me to join his band. And she said, "When you leaving? I mean, when is this going to happen?" I say, "Well, they want me Tuesday." And then she started to cry. She didn't want me to leave, And my dad, he was pushing me out the door. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, son. So
that's your break.
I jumped on a Greyhound bus, man, and me and my bass, and got me a suitcase with a few clothes in it. And I went to Antone's in 1976. I went to Antone's, and that's where I joined Buddy Guy and Junior Wells.
Tell me about that first night on stage at Antone's.
First night, well, I went to rehearsal with them that afternoon. After I got off the bus, I went straight to the club and met with everybody. And man, they was calling songs out like, "Honest I Do," "Hoochie Coochie Man," all this stuff that I knew from my dad.
Right.
So it was like throwing the rabbit in the briar patch. I was at home.
Oh, great.
So I did the first gig, and it was a great night.
Wow.
Yeah.
I talked with, when Scrap passed, I got to talk with Lil Mill, his son, and he talked about as a child, he said, my dad had a place and all these guys came over and I was too young to know who they were. But all I knew was I had all these uncles that all smelled real good, drove these big cars and were just clean. And he said, I didn't know that Uncle Tyrone and Uncle Blue and Uncle Johnny T were these famous guys till years later.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did you have, like, when you were there at home with Rayful, did any big stars or
I had people come by like Ernie Cato.
Oh, yeah.
My mother.
Yeah.
He was by all the time because his family still lives here in Baton Rouge.
Right.
So they're home folks. I had people like Slim Harpo at the house a lot.
Wow.
That's my back. He was a big man. He looked like the Jolly Green Giant to me. That guy was a big dude, man, like tall, 6'10" or 6'9" or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was way up there, man. So, as a kid, when he walked in the house, it was like, wow, look at this dude.
And a cool guy, huh?
Oh, very nice, man. And, throughout the years, I'm still close with his son, and his wife passed away a couple of years ago. But, we're still in touch with each other, his son and his family. But we had people like that coming through. And Wayne Bennett, Wayne was
I know who
Bobby
Wayne
Bland
Bennett
band, the great guitar player, and all of them was stopped by, man. And because they was all friends with my dad, and we was just kids growing up, knowing we wanted to play music.
Wow, that's just terrific. So you will go with Buddy Guy and you play bass. How long did that last?
Not very long, because it lasted from about 76 to 1980, 81, something like that. And so what happened, I moved to Canada and started my family there in 79. So my kids are half Canadian American. They dual citizenship now, which is great. But when I got to Toronto, it was a very little work for a blues artist. So now I got to get in gear and figure out, should I stay with Buddy Guy or I stay here and try to pursue my career in Canada? And that's what I did. I went out and got me a guitar and started learning my licks and my chops on the guitar because I didn't have any gigs. So I stayed home every day and put albums on like Albert King, Albert Collins, B.B. King, you know, all these guys. I would crank up in my house and turn my amplifier on and balance the sound, and I would just play with them, you know, because I knew the music, so I just had to learn the chops, and started writing my songs, and then started applying for different grants up in Canada, and I got a grant to do an album. And matter of fact, I phoned up Alligator Records. This is years before I started with Bruce Iglard. I phoned up Bruce and I said, look, I got a chance to get a grant to work on a project. Can you send me a nice letter, you know, so I can put it with my grant? And he did. And this was in 1980, something like that, 81. And so I stapled that letter on top of my grant application and got the grant, started. And then it was maybe 6 or 7 years later before I really came out on Alligator.
Right.
And actually, I used a couple of them tracks from Canada on some of my stuff.
So
Alligator.
You and I crossed paths in Sanford, Florida.
That was just before Alligator.
Right. Well, it kind of led to Alligator, right? I mean,
I think me and you was hanging back in 85, 86.
There was you and me.
Yeah.
There was a group. There was Bob's one attempt at a boy band called Lavery.
Yeah.
Remember those guys?
I remember Lavery, and a Rude Boy Slim would be hanging around.
Well, Slim was the kind of where the whole thing starts.
Yeah.
And I had worked with Slim, and Bob, of course, had been with the original band, and I had opened for them about a year and a half before, you know, we ended up down there. He liked what I did, and I was kind of out there, and so he said, about a year later, I get a call from him and he says, let's go make a record. And I went, you've heard, you know, how it is in the business. But I went down there and that's where I ran into you. Tell me how you crossed paths with Bob and how that evolved. Because it's a really interesting, you know, story.
That same grant that I was talking about, I had a chance to record 10 songs. So around 83, 84, I got a divorce and I came back to Baton Rouge, and I had this masters of 10 songs. And then to generate work down here, being back home and get on some of the shows that was bigger than the clubs, you know, more of the concert kind of shows around the South, I had to have some kind of record happening. So I took 2 songs out of the 10 songs and made a 45 record. And I pressed 500 of them. And I send probably 350 to radio stations. And I got airplay, man. And Bob, Soul Man Shire, down in Tampa, Florida, was playing that record one day, and Bob Greenlee got a hold of it and heard him. And he called him up and said, who's that guy you just played? And he said, oh, that's Rayful's son, Kenny Neal. And so Bob and Shire came down here for about 3 days trying to catch up with me. Back then, I was hard to catch up with. I was rolling. So my mom would say, it's a guy from Florida looking for you. I think you should meet him. I say, oh, I'll see him later. 2 days later, this guy is still here looking for you. You better. So she pinned me down. And that's where he invited me to come to Orlando, Sanford, Florida, to do a record. But our deal was to do my dad first. We'd do a Rayful Neal album, and then we'll follow it with a Kenny Neal album. And that's what we did. And while we was making my dad record down there, we just grew like we've been knowing each other for years, man. What a sweet guy he was, man. And
tell the folks about the experience of working with Bob, because that was he was one of the very special people in this business.
Oh man, he was just so generous. I mean, big-hearted, help anybody, you know, and it was like, and you know, he went to Yale and he played with the Dolphins and all of that football, but he said he got tired of getting knocked around and decided I'm gonna go and finish my music out. And he just had an open heart, open arms. You're welcome. I mean, if you could just sing a half a note, Bob would take you upstairs and record you. You know?
And also a really good writer.
Oh, great writer, man. All that stuff we wrote together out there on the ocean, on the boat, man, he was just right on target. I would give him a hook line and he would take it and run with it. And then we'll start feeding off of each other. And next thing you know, the story is told. We got a song. I really, really miss him for that.
We all do.
Yeah.
And I have a career as a result of him.
Oh yeah, same here. You know, and the good thing about it is that I'm doing the same thing that Bob did with us. When I moved back, my first house I ever owned was still here, and I have a couple more houses on the property, and I just turned everything into living quarters for musicians that's coming through town, want to come here and record. They can stay at the place, record at the place, get up in the morning and eat breakfast, and you know, it's just homey, welcome, you know, and a lot of that came from Bob's idea, you know. So I have the same thing going on here now that Bob had for us, and it's wonderful, man.
We'll talk about that in a minute. You know, you got the album, Alligator picks it up. It actually kicks into pretty high gear. You got a lot of airplay on that first album.
Man,
and
we stayed number one every time we come out.
When that thing came out and you hit the road, did you tour off and on, or did you hit it and just get it for a couple?
The road over 200 and some dates a year. I was trying to outdo Mr. BB, but he always he'll go, "Hey Kenny, how many days you did this year?" I go, "Oh, I'm about 260. I beat you, son. I got about 290 in." You know, and that's just the way I said, "Man, I can't never beat this man out, man." But yeah, I was a road dog, man.
So tell the people what you like best about being out there on the road.
Well, I like meeting people, sharing my gift that I have, and watching people leave there with a positive attitude and a happy attitude. That makes my day. Even though when I drive all day long, get off the bus, go do the gig, man, when I see them leaving and they singing my songs, it's just rewarding for me.
Tell me about one of those gigs that when you're riding down the road late at night, like we always do after a gig, and you start tripping and dreaming of, you know, stuff in the past, and you'll never forget that gig when you were sitting there on stage and suddenly looked around and you go, "Oh my God, they don't understand. I'm just this young guy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm here in front of all these people," you know.
Well, it was amazing for me because, you know, I come from a little town called Irwinville. It's in it's West Baton Rouge, and it's really country little place, and it's great because I go out there now, and all my guys I went to school with, their parents, everybody, man, I'm at home, you know. And for me to be able to work my way out of that little country town up into the international global thing is just, it's amazing sometimes. I remember when I played for my first big, maybe 10,000 people, you know, and I was having that flashback, like you say, wow, they won't even believe where I come from, you know?
Yeah.
Where
was that?
In Irwinville, Louisiana. It's a little
No, where was the big 10,000, the first time you played for 10,000 people that you can remember?
When I played over in Nice, France. I was over in Nice, down in the south over there. Big crowd, really nice, beautiful.
Did they go totally nuts?
Oh, it was great, man. It was good, and I had some good company with me because I had long hair with me, and Memphis Slim. And I got some nice video of that. I need to release it. It's Memphis Slim on one side on the piano, Professor Longhair on the other side, man, and you know, I'm just in heaven, and I'm singing. So I cherish that video.
On the other hand, the road has some bumps here and there, and it has some unexpected curves.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about one of those gigs that you just go, "Oh my Lord," you know, it just along the way you hit one every now and then that just still you'll never forget.
Well, there's quite a few of them. But the strangest one was before I got to be Kenny Neal, when I was playing music behind Ernie Cato. I used to bag him up as a bass player too. And we would find all these little places in the woods back in the sticks, man. And we would go there and we would play, and we would be sitting in the back of the club waiting for 9:30 or 9 o'clock to come. And I'm a young kid going, man, let's go inside. But I didn't really realize that they weren't really welcome in the place. The music was welcome, the band was welcome, but we can only just play on stage. But when it's over with, we go back out the back door. And that's some of the time when I go, man, what in the hell we playing here for if this is the case, you know? Because I'm like a younger generation, you know, and that's, you know, I did a lot of them gigs. You just play, they enjoy the music, and get out of there. And it was the strangest gig to me, which I'm glad I don't have to go through that anymore.
Amen to that. On to one of the greatest things that's probably happened to all of us, and one of the reasons why we're talking tonight. Tell me about how the whole thing came together with you and the Blues Cruise.
Well, you know, man, I don't know if you remember, but before Roger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bob Greenlee, and then we had the Blues Cruise, remember?
Right.
We had Taj Mahal on. We had the guy from the drummer, Max what's his name?
Max Weinberg.
Yeah, Max Weinberg was one of our guests, Nova Thin Man Watts. And we did that for a couple of years before this Blues Cruise.
Right.
You never did it with us, right?
No, I think Bob had asked me to do it, and
okay.
I had something else, you know, lined up at the time, and we were getting ready. And then I started with Roger on like the second of the Ultimate Rhythm and Blues cruise.
Yeah.
You know, that was fun. So when did you start on the Rogers Blues Cruise? Do you remember?
Well, right after that, you know, way before Roger started. Me and Roger don't start at the Blues Cruise. We go back to the Grand Emporium.
Sure.
You know, and I was working with Roger for many years before that. So we already had a relationship going from playing his place when we go over to Kansas City. You know, but I was so happy to see him starting the Blues Cruise because, you know, I really loved what we was doing down in Florida with that Blues Cruise leaving out of Cape Canaveral. I think we was leaving out of.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. So when Roger started cruising, I was happy to see that, you know, it was a thing. And,
you know,
Roger is he's like family to us, man. He come down to Baton Rouge, you know where I live. We'll go to New Orleans and hang out there and hit the city, you know, so he's like family.
What makes the, what to those that aren't for the cruisers, what makes the cruise special to you? What makes the blues, you know, it's more than just a boat full of people playing music. There's a whole vibe to the thing. We get
with the people that really love the blues, and it's a family of blues, and that's a place that it remind me of New Orleans and Heritage Fest. That's the cruise is like on a smaller level, but it's people from all over the world that love the blues come together and spend a week, and we get a chance to see the artists. I see all my friends I don't get a chance to see because they're on the road as well, you know, and we get close up with the fans who might say, I'm from Australia, I'm from Germany, and they, you know, we reminisce and they tell me about some of the stories of their experience that they had coming to my show, and it's just a reunion, you know. So it's great.
Tell me about this. I know, first of all, I appreciate you doing this with us. I know you're really busy. And the reason you're busy, tell us about the project you're involved with right now. That's really exciting.
Well, you know, I opened up the studio here after I did my last album, Bloodline. I was nominated for a Grammy for that one.
Right.
And I decided, man, I spent a lot of money on this last project. I could have bought 2 studios. So I decided to invest in my one of my old places here and made it a home and a studio. And it was open about a year before COVID started. And within that year, I did probably 9 albums out of there. And the word just started. I haven't been advertising, it's just word of mouth. And then I just got my last project with Tito Jackson. I did produced 13 songs for his new blues album. And
wow.
I'm also a guest on that album as well, singing a song with him called Love One Another. We got to love one another, which is a cool song, kind of bluesy, rockish like. But I did the whole thing. I did it from scratch all the way to the horns, and we finish up actually today.
Wow.
It's my last track to finish, but it was great working with him because he's such a humble guy, and he really been into the blues all his life. I mean, you think of Tito Jackson and Jackson 5, Michael Jackson, and you might think they don't connect with the blues, but he's very well connected with the blues and love it from his heart. So he and I worked together about 10 years ago, and we got along real good, and we stayed in touch. And when he wanted to go forth with this last blues album, he called me up to team up with him. And I'm looking forward to it out this year.
That's great. Listen, this has been great. Before we go, I got to ask you, what was that like working on Broadway?
Broadway was great, man. Bob Green and I, here we go again. We had just got our second or third album out. And I was so happy that I had this album coming out. I think that was 1991, because I had the James Brown horn section. The name of this album is called Walking on Fire. And I had Maisie Yo and Fred Wesley. I mean, all the cream of the crop. So I was excited to go out and push this record. And as soon as the record came out, I don't know if Bruce was too happy about this either. As soon as the record came out, I got a call from the Lincoln Center wanting me to come in and audition for a part for a Broadway show. And I go, man, I'm a blues player. I don't, you know. And so Bob and I caught a flight, went to New York. I went in to read for the part, came back out, and I said, man, you can forget about that. It was awful. I said, but Albert King playing at the Blue Note tonight. And so we went out and saw Albert King that night and caught a flight back to Florida the next day. And I go, well, man, at least we gave it a shot, but I'm sure they won't be calling. And 2 weeks later, Bob called me up and said, hey, man, congratulations. You got the part for this Broadway show. And Tosh Mahal going to be doing all the music. And it was called Mule Bone. And it was written by Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes. And by me having the lead in that play, man, it was crazy. I mean, my script was like this, and I never acted a day in my life. And so the Lincoln Center assigned me some intensive coaching lessons I had to take. And her name was Novella Nelson. She just passed away a couple of years ago. But man, she worked with me one-on-one for about 3-4 weeks, just getting me prepped for knowing my script. And then after about a month of that, then she said, okay, now you got to sing it. Sing it. So, and then after I got familiar with the script, then I had to move. And you know, it was a lot of work, man. But after I got to rolling with it, I got the ball. I started rolling and figured it all out and learning how to phrase and throw my lines at the actors differently. Every night I started having fun with it. So when it was all over with, I was happy it was over with. A lot of the other actors wasn't too happy, but I was happy that it was over. I did it. I'm going back to my music. Well, about a month or two later, I got invited to come back to New York because I won the Theater World Award for the most outstanding new coming actor on Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I got that, and then that was amazing.
Wow. How long was the run?
I think about 6 months, 7 months, something like that. It's a long time, long enough for me. You know, I did 8 shows. I'll tell you, the blues guy, Guy Davis.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, Guy Davis. He was my understudy. And back then, by me being young, when I accept, I'm like that now. When I do something, I give it 150%. I give my all. So a couple of times I wasn't feeling too good, and me being the person I am, I don't want nobody else to do the show. I'm going to stick to I never let him set in not one show out of my whole time. I apologize to him now about it. I go, man, I was just thinking I had to do my job. And every day I would pass by his dressing room, and he would be dressed up exactly like me, same clothes, everything, you know. He was waiting for me to break a leg. Yeah.
Well, It's understood,
It was all good.
So let me ask you a couple of things. When you're not producing, when you're not writing, in your off time, what do you like to do besides music? You have any hobbies?
I don't know nothing about no all.
Well, yeah, I know, but
my hobby, I'm redoing my 46 Buick right now that I had some years. We're customizing it, air conditioning, the LS engine, power steering, the whole works. I got a couple collections. Then when the COVID came, I got a good deal on a country home about 100 years old. And it's got the big front porch with the oak trees out front. And I'm just now getting ready to put it on the market. But during my COVID time, we spent a lot of time redoing it. We make old meet new. So I'm really proud of that project. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm in the studio recording. So I have my hands full. And then I love to ride my mule. I ride a mule. I don't ride a horse. So
come on, don't leave me with that. Tell me more about that. What's his mule's name?
His name is Arky. Hollywood Arky. I got his birth certificate. And he lived in Palo Alto, California with me. And when me and my wife moved here to Baton Rouge, I shipped him back. And he's the coolest mule you want to meet, man. And
how old is he?
Brad is 18, 19. He's getting old on for about 13. But he come from Arkansas. He came from Arkansas, hung out in California. Now he's back down in the South in Louisiana.
That's great.
But, I ride him, man, and he's my best buddy. He have a mind of his own sometime, but then I don't give a damn. So if you want to take a right turn, go ahead. Let's go over here and see what's up, Arky.
That was worth the whole interview. That's great. You have any other pets? You have any dogs or anything?
I have two cats inside. Both of them are, I don't know if I can call them Midnight. I call them like a dog sometimes. Mm-hmm. And Lucky. Midnight is a stray cat that I got from a little bitty baby. I mean, I fed him milk in a bottle and everything. And I've been having him for 8 years now. And then Lucky came from a restaurant I was at. He was outside. I think they call him Maine Coon, something like that.
A Maine Coon. Yeah, we have one too.
Okay, so he was just hanging out outside, and the lady said, "Oh, if you like that cat, you can take it." We have a big house. We brought it home, and now it's just beautiful. Yeah. But I'm in the South, man. These folks down here, Midnight, come here. These folks down here believe in black cats.
We have a house full of cats, so that right way strikes a great note.
He just walked by, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Mickey's around here somewhere too. So,
but I have 8 cats outside.
Okay.
They live back by the stable where the horses at.
Sure.
But they on duty. They work. They work
mm-hmm.
cats. I don't have any rodents, nothing around. The place stay clean all the time. All we do is give them their shots and make sure they're stir clean and feed them well, and they do the rest for them. I don't have no problem.
Absolutely. We have the same going on here. That's very cool. So listen, you've been a great interview, man. Thank you for all the great stories. And I told you this, when I talked to you the other night, I always ask this at the end of the interview. You're sitting on the front porch watching the cats out there playing, maybe thinking about the good times with Arky, thinking about all the rest of it. What are you going to look back on as maybe your proudest accomplishment? Something that fills you in here when you think about it.
Oh, well, shit, I look back at that all the time. One thing is that I was able to get out of the country, make a name for myself, do well, come back and help my family. And that was the biggest thing, being there for my parents, and taking my dad to Germany and France and going to Japan when he worked so hard to raise us up, taking my mama to France and Germany, come on, Ma, I got you a plane ticket, that's just rewarding to me. And taking my family, my younger brothers all over the world. That's about the biggest thing I think I can come back and help other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love to give back, and that's what my studio here is for. And folks out there listening, you can go to kennyneal.net and send me an email over. You want to come down here to Louisiana and experience our way of life and make a good blues record, call me up. The doors are open.
That's great. Any final thoughts? The floor is yours.
Well, I just hope that everybody be safe and hang in there a little bit longer, because I think we're going to see the light, but we just got to hunker down a little bit longer and everything will be all right. And I'm sure it's going to be better than it was before. It'd be nice to see everybody again.
Amen. Kenny, thank you so very much. This has really been great, man.
All right, Billy, you take care of yourself. Looking forward to seeing you, man.
You do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kenny Neal, you've been listening to Driftin' and Driftin'. I'm Reverend Billy Wirtz. Don't forget to check out the podcast that goes along with this, where we'll be playing some of those great tunes that Kenny told you about. Thank you all so very much. Good night. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye. See you.
Where the blues bloodline run deep. Grandpa was a preacher. The apple don't fall far from the tree. Daddy sang the blues, and the bloodline run through me. Grandpa died, Daddy gone. Now I'm here to carry on the line. All the young ones coming on, I got to pass it on. Bloodline. Blues bloodline run deep. I got the blues from my head to my feet. Grandma put me on the mourning bench. I had to jump up and begin to sing. Glory, hallelujah. Grandma used to pray all alone. I love to sit and listen to a moaning groan. Story how'd she plant the seed when she rocked me in the cradle. She sang the blues to me. Roots run deep, the apple don't fall far from the tree.